All right, welcome to Module 1, Lesson 1. We're going to be talking about your first 30 to 90 days. Because as a leader, there are essential tasks that you ultimately just need to know to be really viewed as successful as a leader. So in this module, I'm going to teach you some of the core key responsibilities that you need to know to help set yourself up for success. Because maybe you've climbed the corporate ladder, maybe you've been promoted to leading a new team, maybe you're taking on a new opportunity that's come your way. You might be a manager, a supervisor, a director, an executive of some sort. The next 30 to 90 days, they're going to be essential for you to succeed. If you're already a leader, obviously this is a great module to start with as well, because it's going to help you determine if there are any core areas that maybe you need to correct. Because we're not perfect. There are mistakes, there are gaps that we're going to make. There's going to be some essential tasks that you need to know to accomplish to make sure that you have the right results, but also you're perceived to be as influential as possible as a leader. So I always say when you first kick off leading a team, that first 30 days, they're so important to your success. So you got to do things like define expectations, set the tone with your team, introduce yourself as a leader, explain who you are, how you operate, your communication style, your expectations. Communication is so key. I think and I believe that throughout my career, I've come to realize that communication is the cause of any breakdown that happens within a business or a team. It's a lack of communication. It's either not having the right conversation with the right person, maybe having the wrong conversation with the right person. It's avoiding it. So you have to get to know your team. You have to ask them what they expect of you. How do they want to be led? Listen to what they have to say. And more importantly, what they don't tell you. Because the truth is this, you can never make a second first impression. So look at that first 30 to 90 days as an evaluation period for yourself more than anything else. You have to assess what's going on within the team or the group or the business that you've inherited. What's working, more importantly, what's not. Because there are tough decisions that need to be made. And we're going to explore that in a later module, but it is true that there are decisions you're going to have to make real quickly, real fast. To have that credibility, you need to make sure, though, you are getting some quick wins. Because all eyes, they're on you. Everyone's watching you, whether you know it or not. Everything you do, everything you say, everything you don't do is being judged as a leader. So you need to prove value instantly. You need to establish some credibility. So get some quick wins under your belt to start generating momentum and trust, because you're going to need it. One thing that I think that really a lot of leaders struggle with, though, is making decisions early on. You're going to have to make the call. Hopefully they are more of the right call as opposed to the wrong one. But there are going to be some decisions that become pretty clear in that first 30 days. So make sure that you be mindful, though, to resist the urge to do anything super drastic, because you might not be fully aware of everything that's going on, but you have to be seen as someone who does make decisions, someone who can steer the strategy and the vision in the right direction. Your team is looking for leadership from you. As a leader, you have a tremendous responsibility. Ask questions to help you make the decision that ultimately makes sense, though. That is so critical and that is so important. But as you get through day 30, you get into day 40, 45, 50, get into 60. That first 60 days, you've now at this point probably should have met your team. You've probably got a bit of an evaluation in your head of who's in, who's out, right? Like who's actually performing, who's actually providing value. You're starting to maybe formulate a bit more of a plan of attack, maybe a bit of a leadership plan. And we're going to dive deeper into how to really develop a roadmap in a future module here as well. But you got to recognize a couple of things about yourself as a leader. That one, management is about getting things done through other people. So, as a leader, you can't do everything, okay? Number two, your employees, you need them more than they need you. Number three, you're paid for what your employees do, not what you do as the leader. We have to remember that. I've been very guilty of that myself. Sometimes jumping in and doing things that I shouldn't be doing when it's the employees who I should be delegating to who are ultimately the ones that should be taking care of the work. And four, and I think this is so important, this is why I've got this in Module 1, Lesson 1, is that success only comes when your employees succeed. See, it doesn't matter what you do, what you think as a leader. If your employees are not succeeding, if they're not winning, you're not winning. Remember that. That's critical and important, especially in that first 30 to 60 days. So when we talk about maybe trying to be successful and make sure your people are winning, as a leader, you have to accomplish more through others. You got to determine what needs to be done. So you have to get really good at getting work done through other people, accomplishing results. You got to ask not only what needs to be done, but like if you don't know within 60 days, which you should, your team's going to be letting you know, or at least you should be creating the environment where they let you know what needs to be done. You'll have to identify the tasks that everyone is best at and precisely what you're great at as well, but concentrating on those tasks one at a time and checking them off the box as they're completed. Management is so much about checking the box to make sure that work is actually accomplished on time, on budget, effectively, efficiently, and hopefully in a profitable way that leads to results. But after the tasks are completed, your job is to reset priorities based on new realities, how things have changed. I talked earlier about making decisions. It is so critical that we ask ourselves as leaders what's right for the business, what's best for the business. It's ultimately about creating win-win scenarios as much as possible for your team, your colleagues, your customers, the company. Ultimately, decisions that are best for the business are ultimately what's best for all stakeholders involved. So you got to devise an action plan specifying the results that everyone can achieve if they do the right amount of effort, and make sure that you're doing it in a way that you don't overburden people. But have different checkpoints throughout to make sure that the decisions that you made based on the information or the data that you had actually made sense. As a leader, we have to focus on opportunities though. So build up that track record of exploiting opportunities as opposed to just solving problems. Because you know what? I've learned this throughout my career, is there are going to be problems. There's going to be things that are going to go wrong. There are things that are going to happen that just come out of left field. Fix those problems, address those problems, but look at them differently. Shift your perspective on them and realize that all problems can actually be opportunities. They can lead to something else. And if you can exploit the opportunities, the problems, and make something more of them, create new products, new services, new offerings, new ways to do work, be more innovative, you're going to become seen as innovative, and that's going to help you be seen as someone who drives change and becomes that game changer. Leaders also need to remember to make sure that they match strengths. Match someone's talents to the tasks. So you got to get to know your people. Simple as that. Ask yourself about how you can take a look at getting better acquainted with your team in that first 60 days. Whether it's one-on-ones, which I'm a huge advocate for, whether it's some team meetings, some group exercises, taking employees out to lunch, get to know your people so you can actually make sure that you match the best people with the best opportunities. Because if you put people in spots where they're destined to fail, you're going to fail as well. So, to close off this lesson in this module, I just want to say that if your first 30, 60, 90 days are effective, if you're doing what I've just suggested here in these last few minutes, you're going to be evolving your style as you should. You're no longer going to be crawling along in your journey. You're going to begin to walk on your own and show what you're capable of. And that's ultimately why you were put in this position as the leader. It's about generating momentum and getting faster and faster. Instead of just crawling, you start to run. And when you can run at full speed, that's when you can have results. But you're going to have to leverage the credibility that you gain in your first few months. That's why you can't stumble out of the gate. You have to make sure you're bringing the right energy, the right mindset, the right tactics, decisions, strategies. Look, there are going to be challenges, but you have to expect that and you have to plan for that and be aware of it. Your job, though, as a leader is to coach the team. But don't fall into the trap of giving everyone the answer. I have been there myself. It actually hurts you more than helps you. There's a short-term gain for giving somebody the answer, but you can't rely on doing that. Delegation and follow-up is going to be important, but create an environment where you let people or you encourage people to step up on their own. So in the next module, what we're going to do is we're going to dive deep into how to create a vision, a plan, so that you can actually align your team together. And this is going to be critical as you move forward, because alignment is so essential to being successful as a leader. We'll see you in the next module.